The arrow missed my head by inches. I heard the whistle first, then felt the displacement of air as the shaft buried itself into the wooden post behind me with a violent thunk. My heart was already racing before my mind caught up with what had just happened. I was standing in the courtyard of a burning village, smoke choking the air, and somewhere in the chaos, a woman was screaming. This wasn't how I'd planned my arrival in feudal Japan. The chrono device on my left wrist was still humming, the blue light fading as the temporal displacement stabilized. I'd materialized exactly where I'd intended, the Kamakura period, 1274, just months before the Mongol invasion would reshape Japanese history. But instead of landing in a peaceful farming community as my coordinates suggested, I'd dropped into hell itself. Another arrow flew past, this one closer. I dove behind a stone wall, my brown coat flaring out behind me. The chronofiber lining absorbed the impact as I hit the ground, but my shoulder still ached. Through the smoke, I could see them. Men on horseback, their armor different from anything I'd studied. Not samurai. These were raiders, their faces painted with dark streaks, their movements coordinated and brutal. I pressed my back against the wall and tried to think. The mission parameters hadn't mentioned an active conflict. I was supposed to observe, to document the culture before the Mongol fleet arrived. Instead, I was pinned down in a firefight with what looked like bandits or possibly advanced scouts. A figure emerged from the smoke to my left, a man in traditional samurai armor, the plates lacquered a deep red and black. His katana was drawn, the blade catching the firelight. Blood ran down his left arm, but his stance was solid, unbowed. He saw me and his eyes narrowed with suspicion and confusion. I must have looked like nothing he'd ever seen before. Foreign clothes, strange equipment appearing out of nowhere. "Who are you?" he demanded in Japanese. My temporal translator kicked in, processing his words through the neural interface embedded in my skull. "Someone who doesn't want to die today," I answered in his language, my accent probably terrible despite the technology. "Same as you." An arrow struck the wall above us, showering us with splinters. The samurai moved with incredible speed, deflecting another shaft with his blade. The precision was breathtaking. "Can you fight?" he asked. I pulled the chrono blade from my belt, a weapon that looked like a short sword but hummed with contained energy, its edge vibrating at frequencies that could cut through almost anything. It wasn't supposed to be used except in extreme emergencies. This qualified. "I can try," I said. He gave me a look that might have been approval or might have been resignation. "Then follow me. Lord Takita's wife is trapped in the main house. We need to reach her before they do." That's when I understood. This wasn't random violence. This was a kidnapping attempt, an assault designed to seize leverage against a local daimyo, and I'd just volunteered to help stop it. The samurai moved, and I followed. His name was Hayato, and he moved through combat like water flowing downhill. Inevitable, fluid, deadly. I watched him cut down 2 raiders in the space of 3 heartbeats, his katana describing perfect arcs through the air. Each movement was economical, purposeful. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. I was less graceful. My chrono blade carved through a raider's weapon, and I used my elbow to drive him back, then swept his legs. Combat training from 3 different centuries rattled around in my muscle memory, none of it quite fitting this situation. But I stayed alive, and I stayed moving. The main house was ahead, a traditional structure with elevated floors and sliding doors. Flames licked at one corner, but the building was largely intact. Hayato gestured for me to follow him up the steps. Inside, I could hear voices, men shouting, and beneath that, a woman's voice, clear and defiant. "She fights," Hayato said with unmistakable pride. "Lady Akemi does not surrender easily." We burst through the doors. The interior was chaos. 3 raiders had cornered a woman near the far wall. She held a naginata, a polearm with a curved blade, and she knew how to use it. One raider was already down, clutching his leg. The others circled warily. She was in her late 20s, her hair partially undone from its formal arrangement, her kimono torn at the sleeve. Her face was set with absolute determination. Hayato roared and charged. I went right, flanking. The raiders turned, caught between us. And in that moment of divided attention, Lady Akemi struck. Her naginata swept low, taking one man's legs out from under him. Hayato's blade found another's throat. The third tried to run and I grabbed him, slamming him into the floor. My chrono blade hummed near his neck. "Call off the attack," I said, my voice harder than I felt. "Now." He spat something I didn't need translated, and Hayato stepped forward, pressing his katana against the man's chest. "You have failed. Lord Takeda's forces will arrive within minutes. Your only choice is how you wish to die." The raider's eyes widened. He shouted something, probably a retreat signal. And outside, I heard the sound of hooves thundering away. The attack was breaking off. Hayato kept his blade steady until the sounds faded, then lowered it. He turned to Lady Akemi and bowed deeply. "My lady, forgive me for not arriving sooner." She lowered her naginata and I saw her hands trembling slightly despite her composed face. "You arrived precisely when you were needed, Hayato-san. And you brought..." She looked at me with undisguised curiosity. "Who is this stranger?" I deactivated my chronoblade and clipped it to my belt. Then I bowed, trying to remember the proper form from my historical research. "My name is Nikola Brown. I'm a traveler. I arrived at an unfortunate moment." "A fortunate moment," she corrected. "Your blade is unlike anything I have seen. Your clothes are foreign. Your face is not of any nation I know. Yet you fought beside Hayato without question. You have my gratitude." Outside, more sounds, but these were organized, purposeful. Reinforcements were arriving. Hayato moved to the door and called out, identifying himself. Moments later, a group of samurai entered, led by a man whose armor was more elaborate, his bearing radiating authority even though he was probably only in his 40s. Lord Takeda. He saw his wife and the relief on his face was profound, unguarded. He crossed the room and took her hands, examining her for injuries. "Akemi, thank the gods. I am unharmed, husband. Thanks to Hayato and this stranger." She gestured to me. Lord Takeda turned, and I felt the weight of his scrutiny. He was assessing me, reading me, trying to understand what I was and why I was here. I'd been in this position before, explaining my presence to figures of authority in different time periods. It never got easier. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice was calm but carried absolute expectation of truth. "My name is Nikola Brown. I'm a traveler from a distant land. I arrived here by unusual means, and I found your village under attack. I chose to help. It was close enough to the truth. Your equipment is strange. Your weapon unlike any I have seen. Yet you fight with honor." He studied me for a long moment. "You saved my wife's life and helped repel our enemies. This debt cannot be ignored. You will stay in my household as my guest until I determine how to properly thank you." It wasn't phrased as a question. I nodded. "I would be honored, Lord Takeda." What I didn't say was that I had nowhere else to go. The chrono device needed time to recharge before I could make another jump, and I was supposed to be studying this culture anyway. This was just a more direct form of anthropological research than I'd planned. The compound took 3 days to rebuild. I helped where I could, hauling timber, clearing debris, trying to make myself useful. The samurai watched me with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. I was an outsider, a foreigner who'd appeared from nowhere and fought alongside them. That created obligations and questions in equal measure. Hayato appointed himself my unofficial guide and occasional interrogator. We worked side by side, rebuilding a storehouse, and he asked questions in his careful, methodical way. "Where are you from, Nikola-san?" "Far away. Across oceans you probably couldn't imagine crossing. And yet you speak our language, though with an unusual manner. You knew to bow to Lady Akemi. You understand honor." "I've studied your culture," I said carefully. "I've always found it admirable. The discipline, the dedication to principles." He nodded, satisfied for the moment. "Lord Takeda wishes to speak with you tonight. He will want to understand your intentions." That evening I was summoned to Lord Takeda's private chamber. It was sparse but elegant. Tatami mats, a low table, a scroll hanging on one wall depicting a mountain landscape. Lady Akemi was there as well, serving tea with precise, graceful movements. This was clearly more than a casual conversation. Lord Takeda waited until we were all seated before speaking. Nikola-san, I have spent these days observing you and asking questions of my men. They tell me you work hard, you show respect, you do not boast of your deeds. These are good qualities. Thank you, my lord. But you are still a mystery. Your arrival during the attack was impossibly convenient. Your equipment is beyond our knowledge. Some of my advisors believe you may be a spy or a sorcerer. He said this calmly, as if discussing the weather. I chose my words carefully. I'm not a spy. As for sorcery, I'm a traveler, as I said. I have access to tools and knowledge from places far from here. But I mean you and your people no harm. I proved that when I helped defend Lady Akemi. Yes, you did. He sipped his tea, which brings me to a problem. I owe you a debt of honor. My wife owes you her life, possibly her freedom. In our culture, such debts are taken very seriously. But how do I repay a man I don't understand? How do I trust someone who appears from nowhere? Lady Akemi spoke then, her voice soft but carrying weight. Husband, perhaps the answer is to give him a place among us. To watch him, yes, but also to teach him. To see if his honor is true or merely performance. Lord Takeda looked at her with obvious respect. What do you propose? Make him samurai, she said simply. Not in title, not immediately, but in training. Let him learn the way of the warrior, the code of Bushido. If he is sincere, he will embrace it. If he is false, it will reveal him. My heart was pounding. Being trained as a samurai? This was beyond anything I'd expected. It was also potentially dangerous. Extended time in this period. Deeper integration into the culture. More chances for temporal contamination. But refusing would create suspicion and possibly offense. Lord Takeda was nodding slowly. There is wisdom in this. Nikola-san, would you accept such training? It would not be easy. Hayato would be your instructor, and he is demanding. You would be expected to learn not just the way of the sword, but the way of the warrior's mind and heart. I thought about Santos Dumont, the Brazilian aviation pioneer I'd once met in 1906 Paris. He'd told me about his first flight in the 14 bis, the first aircraft to achieve autonomous takeoff and sustained flight. The Wright brothers had only managed glider flights with external assistance. Everyone got that part of history wrong. But Santos had explained to me that the real achievement wasn't the mechanics of flight. It was having the courage to attempt the impossible while understanding the consequences of failure. This felt similar. I could refuse, play it safe, wait for my chrono device to recharge and leave. Or I could leap, not knowing if I'd fall or fly. I accept, I said. I would be honored to learn. Training began the next morning. Hayato woke me before dawn by unceremoniously sliding open the door to my room and announcing, "We start now. Dress quickly." I stumbled into the courtyard, still shaking off sleep. The air was cold, mist rising from the ground. Hayato was already there, 2 wooden practice swords in his hands. He tossed one to me. "First we see what you actually know," he said. "Attack me." I moved. I'd had combat training from multiple eras, 20th century military hand-to-hand, some Renaissance fencing, even ancient Roman gladiatorial techniques I'd picked up in 73 AD. I tried to blend them, to use what seemed appropriate. Hayato dismantled me in seconds. He wasn't rough about it, but he was thorough. Every attack I made, he redirected. Every opening I thought I saw was an illusion. Within 30 seconds, I was on my back, his wooden blade touching my throat. "You know how to move," he said, offering me a hand up. "But you fight like a man thinking about fighting. Every technique is separate in your mind, disconnected. The way of the sword is not a collection of techniques. It is one continuous flow, like water or wind. Your mind is your greatest enemy." For the next 3 hours, he broke down every habit I'd developed. Then he started building something new. The basic stances, the fundamental strikes, the way to move from center. It was humbling and exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. Over the following weeks, the training intensified. Hayato taught me not just technique, but philosophy. We would practice in the morning, then he would lecture me on Bushido, the way of the warrior. A samurai lives with death at every moment, he explained one afternoon as we rested after sparring. This is not morbid, it is liberating. When you accept that death may come at any instant, you are free to act with complete commitment, without hesitation. Fear comes from attachment to life. Honor comes from detachment. But you have a family, I said. I've seen you with your daughter. You're attached to them. Yes. And that makes the path more difficult and more meaningful. I love my family deeply. That love gives me something worth protecting, worth dying for. But when I face an enemy, I must set that love aside and become an empty vessel for the sword's action. This is the paradox of Bushido, to be fully human and fully inhuman at the same moment of need. I thought about my own life, my own mission. I traveled through time, witnessing history but never truly part of it. I formed connections but always left them behind. Was I attached to anything? Did I live with the same acceptance of death, or was I just running from commitment, hiding behind temporal coordinates and mission parameters? Lady Akemi sometimes watched the training sessions. Once she approached me as I was cooling down after a particularly brutal session that had left me bruised and questioning my life choices. "You improve quickly," she said. "I hurt quickly too," I answered, trying to smile. She smiled back. "Pain is a teacher. Hayato is showing you not just how to fight, but how to endure. These are the same skill." She paused. "May I ask you something?" "Of course, my lady." "You have knowledge beyond ours. You could leave at any time, I think. Yet you stay and subject yourself to this difficult training. Why?" I considered the question honestly. "Because I've spent my life learning about people like you from the outside, reading about your culture in books and records. But that's not the same as understanding. To truly know something, you have to live it, even if imperfectly, even if it hurts." She nodded thoughtfully. "That is the answer of someone who seeks wisdom, not just knowledge. My husband chose well in allowing you to train. You may make a fine samurai yet, Nikola-san." 3 weeks into my training, everything changed. A messenger arrived at dawn, his horse lathered with sweat. He brought news from the coast. Mongol ships had been spotted. Not the main invasion fleet, that wouldn't arrive for months, but advanced scouts, reconnaissance forces testing Japan's defenses. One of these forces had landed near a village 2 days' ride from our location. They'd taken hostages, including the daughter of a local magistrate. The ransom demand was information, maps, troop positions, details about samurai defenses. Lord Takeda called a council immediately. I was summoned, to my surprise. The room was full of samurai, including Hayato and several men I'd come to know during training. Lord Takeda stood at the head, a map spread before him. "The Mongols test us," he said. "They want to see if we are divided, if we will sacrifice our own to protect secrets. If we refuse their demands, they will kill the hostages. If we comply, we show weakness and give them information they will use to kill many more." One of the older samurai spoke. "We cannot give them what they ask. It would betray every samurai in Kyushu." Another countered, "Can we stand by and let innocents die? That is not the way of honor." The debate went back and forth. I listened, understanding the impossible position they were in. Both choices led to death and dishonor. There was no clean answer. Finally, Lord Takeda looked at me. "Nikola-san, you are an outsider. You see with different eyes. What would you do?" Every samurai in the room turned to look at me. I felt the weight of their attention, their judgment. I took a breath. "I would do neither," I said. "I would rescue the hostages." Silence. Then one of the older samurai laughed, not unkindly. "With respect, you are still learning the basics of the sword. You propose to attack a Mongol force?" "Not alone," I said. "But think about it. They're expecting either compliance or refusal. They're not expecting an attack. They think they have all the leverage. That makes them vulnerable. A small force moving quickly, hitting them before they realize what's happening. It could work." Hayato was nodding slowly. "It is a risk, a great risk. Many of us might die." "Yes," I acknowledged. "But inaction also carries a cost. And at least this way, You'd be acting on your terms, not theirs. Lord Takeda studied the map. How many men do you think we would need? 10, I said, surprising myself with the certainty. Maybe 12. Fast riders, skilled fighters. We travel light, move at night, hit them at dawn when they're least ready. In and out before they can organize a response. Another samurai spoke up. And you would come on this mission? You who have trained for only a few weeks? Yes, I said. I have my own skills to offer, and I paused. I owe Lord Takeda a debt. I owe all of you a debt. You've welcomed me, trained me, treated me with honor. This is my chance to repay that. Lord Takeda looked around the room, reading the faces of his men. Then he nodded. We will do this. Hayato, select your men. We leave at sunset. Prepare for 3 days hard riding and a dawn raid. He looked at me. Nikola-san, gather your equipment. You ride with us. The journey to the coast was punishing. We rode hard, stopping only briefly to rest the horses and grab a few hours of sleep. The group was small, myself, Hayato, and 10 other samurai, all veterans of previous conflicts. They were men who'd faced death before and made peace with it. Around the campfire on the second night, one of the samurai asked me about my chronoblade. His name was Kenji, younger than most, with a scar across his cheek. Your weapon, he said. It cut through a raider's sword like water. Is it magic? Not magic, I said. Just different knowledge. My people learned to make blades that vibrate very fast. It makes them cut better. Your people must be great warriors, another samurai said. I thought about that. My people are great at building things, at understanding how the world works. But warriors? We've mostly forgotten how to be warriors. We've made weapons so terrible that the only honorable thing to do is never use them. We kill from a distance now without looking our enemies in the eye. There's no Bushido in that. Hayato poked at the fire. Is that why you're here? To remember something your people have lost? Maybe, I admitted. Or to learn something we never had in the first place. You have a code, a way of living that gives meaning to violence. My world, we have violence without meaning, slaughter without honor. I wanted to understand the difference. Kenji nodded. Tomorrow you will have your chance. When we face the Mongols, you will learn what it means to fight and die for something larger than yourself. It is a lesson written in blood, but it is the only lesson that matters. We reached the village just before dawn on the third day. It was small, maybe 30 buildings, nestled in a valley that ran down to the sea. From our position on the ridge, we could see the Mongol camp, tents and horses arranged near the beach, their ships anchored in the shallow water. Hayato counted carefully. 15 men, maybe 20. The hostages will be in that larger tent. He pointed. We need to reach them before the alarm is raised. They'll have sentries, I said. At least 2, probably 4. Yes. Kenji, take Nikola and deal with the sentries on the eastern approach. Silent kills only. The rest of us will wait for your signal. Then we strike fast for the tent. Once we have the hostages, we run. Do not engage unless necessary. Our goal is rescue, not glorious death. That last part was said with a slight smile. These men knew the risks. They were making jokes about it. We moved down the ridge in the pre-dawn darkness. Kenji was like a shadow, utterly silent. I tried to match his movements, my heart hammering in my chest. This was different from the chaotic defense of Lord Takeda's village. This was planned, calculated. That somehow made it more terrifying. The first sentry was standing near a tree, watching the approach from the village. Kenji gestured. He'd take this one. I watched him close the distance, impossibly quiet. And then the sentry was down, Kenji's knife finding the precise spot between armor plates. It was efficient and brutal and necessary. The second sentry was mine. He was alert, scanning the darkness. I couldn't get as close as Kenji had. When he started to turn toward me, I had no choice. I activated my chronoblade, the sound masked by the distant ocean, and moved. The humming blade took his weapon and his life in one swift motion. He never made a sound. I stood there for a moment, looking at what I'd done. I'd killed before, in the heat of combat, in self-defense. But this was different. This was calculated, deliberate. I felt sick and justified in equal measure. Kenji touched my shoulder. "First time?" he whispered. "Killing like this? Yes. It does not get easier, but it becomes necessary. Come." The others wait. We signaled. The samurai moved like ghosts through the camp. Most of the Mongols were still sleeping. We reached the tent where the hostages were held. 2 guards outside, both neutralized before they could shout. Inside, we found 7 people bound and terrified, including a young woman of about 16 who I guessed was the magistrate's daughter. Hayato cut their bonds while the rest of us formed a perimeter. One of the hostages was an older man, bleeding from a head wound. "Can you ride?" Hayato asked him. "I can endure," the man answered. That's when the alarm went up. A Mongol had woken to relieve himself and saw the bodies. His shout woke the camp. "Move," Hayato ordered. "To the horses." We ran. The hostages stumbled, weak from captivity, and we half carried, half dragged them. Behind us, I could hear the Mongols organizing, shouting orders. Arrows began to fly. One caught Kenji in the shoulder. He grunted but kept moving. Another samurai, I think his name was Takashi, took an arrow to the leg and went down. Hayato didn't hesitate. He grabbed Takashi and threw him over his shoulder, still running. We reached the horses. The hostages were thrown onto saddles, samurai mounting behind them. I helped the magistrate's daughter onto a horse and swung up behind her. "Hold on," I told her. "This is going to be rough." The Mongols were coming, a mix of mounted and foot soldiers. We couldn't outrun them with 2 people per horse and wounded men. Hayato saw the same problem. "Nikola, Kenji, with me. The rest of you ride hard for the ridge, we'll hold them here." It was a suicide mission. Buy time for the others to escape by sacrificing ourselves. The calculus was brutal and clear. I could have run, should have run. My mission wasn't to die in feudal Japan. But as I looked at Hayato calmly preparing to die for people he'd never met, at Kenji gritting his teeth against the pain of his wound and drawing his sword anyway, I understood something fundamental. This was what Bushido meant. Not the sword techniques or the meditation or the philosophy. This moment, this choice to stay when you could flee, to die so others could live. This was the code made real. I dismounted. "I'm staying." Hayato nodded as if he'd expected nothing less. "Then we make them pay for every inch." The 3 of us formed a line across the path. Behind us, the other samurai rode hard up the slope, the hostages with them. In front of us, at least a dozen Mongol warriors advanced, some on horse, some on foot. They charged. What followed was chaos. My chrono blade carved through armor and weapons. Hayato moved like I'd seen him move in training, each strike perfect, each movement exactly what it needed to be. Kenji, wounded and bleeding, fought with the desperate fury of a man already counting himself among the dead. We held. A Mongol blade caught my left arm, cutting deep. I felt the hot rush of blood but kept fighting. Kenji went down, overwhelmed by 3 opponents. Hayato killed 2 of them before they could finish Kenji, then pulled our wounded companion back to back with us. There were too many. We were going to die here. Then I heard it. Horses, coming from the ridge. Not retreating, coming back. The other samurai had seen we were pinned, and rather than escape, they'd charged back. Lord Takeda's men, every one of them, came thundering down the slope with a war cry that must have woken the dead. The Mongols broke. They'd signed up to raid a helpless village, not to fight samurai who refused to die. Those who could flee did. The rest didn't. When the dust settled, we were all standing. Wounded, bleeding, but alive. Kenji had lost consciousness. Takashi was barely holding on. But we'd done it. The hostages were safe. Hayato looked at me with something like approval. "You stayed. You could have run, but you stayed." "I'm learning," I said. My arm was screaming at me and I felt dizzy from blood loss, but I was grinning like an idiot. "I'm learning." The journey back was slower. We had wounded to care for, people to protect. The magistrate met us halfway, his relief at seeing his daughter alive almost painful to witness. He tried to thank us, to offer rewards. Lord Takeda, who'd ridden out when he heard about our mission, refused. "We do not require payment for doing what honor demands. Return to your village. Rebuild. The Mongols will come in greater numbers soon. Be ready." That night, we camped under stars so bright they seemed close enough to touch. My arm was bandaged, though it would scar. Kenji would survive. Takashi would walk with a limp, but had declared that a small price for a story worth telling. Hayato sat beside me. You fought well. More than well. You fought as one of us. I had good teachers. No, you had the spirit already. We merely gave it form. He paused. Lord Takeda wishes to speak with you tomorrow. I think I know what he will say. The next morning, back at the compound, Lord Takeda summoned me to his chamber. The room was more crowded this time. All the samurai who'd ridden with us, plus Lady Akemi and several elders. Lord Takeda stood. Nikola Brown, you came to us as a stranger from a foreign land. You saved my wife. You trained with dedication and humility. And when the test came, when you could have chosen safety, you chose honor. You stayed and fought beside men you'd known for mere weeks, risking your life for people you'd never met. This is the essence of Bushido. He picked up a katana from the table beside him. It was beautiful, the blade gleaming with careful maintenance, the handle wrapped in dark blue silk. This sword belonged to my brother. He died defending this village 10 years ago, facing raiders much like those you recently defeated. It has waited for a warrior worthy to carry it. He held it out to me. Nikola-san, I would be honored if you would accept this blade and the responsibilities that come with it. I name you samurai, a warrior of honor bound by the code of Bushido. Will you accept? My hands were shaking as I reached for the sword. This wasn't supposed to happen. Time travelers didn't become samurai. We observed, we documented, we left. We didn't become part of history. But as I gripped the katana, feeling its perfect balance, its weight of history and purpose, I knew there was only one answer I could give. I accept. I will honor this blade and the code it represents. I will be samurai. The room erupted in approval. Hayato was grinning openly now, all his usual stoicism abandoned. Lady Akemi smiled with quiet satisfaction. Even the stern elders nodded approvingly. Lord Takeda placed a hand on my shoulder. Then welcome, brother. You are one of us now. The ceremony was held that evening. I was dressed in traditional hakama and kimono, my new katana at my side. One by one, the samurai of the household came forward to acknowledge me, to speak a few words of welcome or advice. When Hayato's turn came, he simply said, "Try not to get killed immediately. It would embarrass me as your teacher." I laughed. "I'll do my best." The celebration went late into the night. There was sake, stories, laughter. Kenji, arm in a sling, regaled everyone with an only slightly exaggerated account of our raid. I learned more about these men in a few hours than I had in weeks of training. Their families, their fears, their hopes for a future that wasn't dominated by war. Later, as things were winding down, Lady Akemi approached me on the veranda where I'd stepped out for air. The night was cool, the stars brilliant. "You've given up much to be here," she said quietly. "Your own land, your own people. That is sacrifice." "I haven't given it up," I said. "I'll return eventually. But this matters. Being here, learning this, it matters in ways I'm still understanding. Lord Takeda values you. Not just for your skill, but for your spirit. He says you remind him of his brother. Someone who chose to be here. Who chose this life with full knowledge of its cost." She paused. "The Mongols will come in force soon. When they do, it will be terrible. Many will die. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Santos Dumont again, about that conversation in Paris. He'd told me that the hardest part of flight wasn't the takeoff or even the flying. It was knowing when to land, when to accept that you'd gone as far as you safely could. But I wasn't ready to land yet. "I'm prepared to try," I said. That's all any of us can do, isn't it? Try to be worthy of the responsibilities we've been given. Try to live with honor. Try to make the hard choices when they come. She nodded. That is the answer of a true samurai. Sleep well, Nikola-san. Tomorrow, your real training begins. The weeks that followed were both the hardest and most rewarding of my life. Training intensified as Lord Takeda prepared his forces for the coming invasion. But it was different now. I wasn't a student learning to mimic samurai. I was samurai, expected to hold myself to the same standards, to embody the same principles. Hayato worked me relentlessly, but now with a different purpose. He wasn't teaching me to survive. He was teaching me to lead. When the Mongols come, he said during one session, we will fight together. I need to know that if I fall, you can command, that the men will follow you. I'm not a leader, I protested. You stood when you could have run. You sacrificed when you could have saved yourself. That is leadership. The rest is just practice. One afternoon, Lord Takeda invited me to join him and his senior advisors in discussing defensive strategies. They were planning how to respond when the Mongol fleet arrived, where to position forces, how to coordinate with other daimyo, whether to meet the invasion at the beaches or fall back to more defensible positions. I listened more than I spoke, aware that my historical knowledge could contaminate the timeline if I revealed too much. But when Lord Takeda asked for my thoughts, I offered what I could. The Mongols are terrifying, but they're not invincible. They rely on speed, coordination, and overwhelming force. They expect enemies to break and run. If you can hold your positions, disrupt their formations, prevent them from using their cavalry effectively, you have a chance. One of the older advisors scoffed. They have destroyed empires. What chance do we have? The same chance any warrior has when facing impossible odds, I said. The choice to fight anyway, to make them pay for every inch, to show them that conquest isn't free, that every victory costs blood. That's not nothing, that's everything. The room fell silent. Then Lord Takeda smiled grimly. Well spoken. We will not make it easy for them. We are samurai. We do not surrender. As spring turned to summer, the sense of impending conflict grew. Messengers arrived regularly with news of Mongol movements, of ships gathering, of preparations for invasion. Everyone knew it was coming. The only questions were when and how many. During this time, I found myself growing closer to the men I now called brothers. Hayato's daughter, a girl of about 8, started bringing me tea during training sessions and asking endless questions about foreign lands. Kenji, recovered from his wound, appointed himself my guide to sake and dice games. Even the stern elders began to nod respectfully when I passed. I was becoming part of this community, these people, and every day I felt the weight of knowing what was coming. The Mongol invasion, the typhoon that would save Japan, the years of conflict that would follow. I carried history's burden, unable to share it, trying to honor the present while knowing the future. One evening, about 2 months after I'd been made samurai, I was practicing sword forms alone in the courtyard. The movements were becoming second nature now, not the awkward mimicry of my first days, but something deeper, more instinctive. The blade was an extension of my body, my intent, my will. Hayato emerged from the shadows, watching. When I finished the form, he applauded slowly. Better. Much better. You move like you understand now. Understand what? That the sword is not about killing. It's about clarity. About being fully present in each moment, committed to each action. The opponent is just the circumstance that reveals your true nature. Are you afraid? Hesitant? Distracted? The sword shows you. And if you are clear, present, committed, the sword flows like water. Is that what you feel when you fight? Yes. And also, nothing. Everything. It's difficult to explain. He joined me in the courtyard. When the Mongols come, you will understand. In that moment of crisis, all the training, all the philosophy, all the doubt falls away. There is only action. Only now. That is the gift of Bushido. It prepares you to meet death with the same clarity you would meet dawn. And you're not afraid? I am terrified, he said simply. I have a wife and daughter I love more than my own life. The thought of leaving them, of dying and leaving them unprotected, it haunts me. But fear is just another sensation, like hunger or cold. You acknowledge it and continue. That is all we can do. We practiced together as the stars came out, 2 warriors preparing for a storm we knew was coming. The storm arrived on a hot summer day. The warning bells rang at noon. The Mongol fleet had been spotted. Not scouts this time. The full invasion force, hundreds of ships darkening the horizon. Lord Takeda's compound erupted into controlled chaos. Armor was donned, weapons distributed, final preparations made. Families said goodbye with dignity and minimal tears. These people had faced war before. They knew the cost. I dressed in the armor Lord Takeda had given me, not as elaborate as a true samurai's ancestral armor, but well-made and functional. I strapped my katana to my side, added my chrono blade as a backup weapon. My chrono device had finally recharged. I could leave at any moment, jump to safety, abandon this time and place. I didn't even consider it. Hayato found me checking my equipment. Ready? As I'll ever be. Good. Lord Takeda has assigned us to the coastal defense. We ride out within the hour. There will be no surrender, no retreat. When we fall where we stand. I nodded. There was nothing to say that hadn't already been said. Lady Akemi was in the courtyard as we assembled. She moved among the warriors, speaking quietly to each, offering final blessings. When she reached me, she smiled sadly. You could leave. I have seen the device on your wrist. I am not a fool. I know you have means of escape others do not. You knew? I suspected from the beginning, but it does not matter. You chose to stay. You chose to be one of us. That is what matters. She placed a hand on my arm. Fight with honor, Nikola-san, and if you survive, tell our story. Let others know that we did not yield. I will. I promise. Lord Takeda addressed us all before we rode out. His voice carried across the assembled warriors, perhaps 50 men total, many of whom I'd come to know as friends and brothers. The Mongols come with numbers that dwarf our own. They expect us to fear them, to break, to beg for mercy. They do not understand that we are samurai. We do not measure victory by survival. We measure it by honor. Today, we show them what it means to face warriors who have made peace with death. Today, we teach them the price of invading our lands. Let them win if they must, but let them bleed for it. Let them remember this day with fear and respect. For we are samurai, and we do not yield. The cheer that went up was primal and fierce. These men were riding to probable death, and they did so with pride. We rode hard for the coast. Other forces were converging, samurai from neighboring domains, Ashigaru foot soldiers, archers. The defensive plan was simple: meet them at the beaches, make the landing as costly as possible, prevent them from establishing a beachhead. When we crested the final ridge and saw the Mongol fleet, my heart sank. There were so many ships, hundreds, their sails blotting out the horizon. The first waves of landing craft were already approaching the shore. Lord Takeda positioned his forces, archers on the heights, samurai in the front to meet the initial assault, reserves to plug gaps and exploit weaknesses. It was the best they could do with the forces available. I found myself standing beside Hayato and Kenji, among perhaps 24 samurai forming the vanguard. Behind us, Lord Takeda and his personal guard. To our flanks, more warriors, their faces set with grim determination. The landing craft hit the beach. Mongol warriors poured out, armored differently than the Japanese, carrying composite bows and curved swords. They moved with the coordination of professional soldiers used to conquest. They'd done this before, in China, in Korea, in Central Asia. They expected resistance and had methods for overwhelming it. They didn't expect samurai. The first wave hit our line like a tsunami hitting a cliff. The sound was deafening, metal on metal, screams of wounded and dying, orders shouted in multiple languages. I found myself in the chaos, my katana singing as Hayato had taught me, my movements instinctive now, trained into muscle and bone. A Mongol warrior came at me with an axe. I sidestepped, let the blade pass, struck at the opening. My katana found his neck. He fell. Another took his place, and another. Time stopped meaning anything. There was only motion, only the next opponent, the next decision, parry or dodge, strike high or low, advance or hold. My chrono blade came out when my katana broke against a piece of armor. The humming blade carved through what steel couldn't, but even that had limits. Power was finite. Beside me, Hayato fought with the precision and calm I'd seen in practice, but magnified. He was making choices in milliseconds, each one perfect, each one buying us another moment of survival. Kenji roared and laughed and killed, embracing the chaos with savage joy. We held the line. Minutes stretched into an hour. The Mongols couldn't break us. Every time they pushed forward, we pushed back, leaving their warriors dead in the surf. But we were bleeding, literally and figuratively. Men were falling. The line was thinning. The Mongols just kept coming. Fresh troops replacing casualties, waves of humanity against our diminishing wall of steel and will. Kenji fell, an arrow through the throat. He died still standing, still defiant. I screamed his name, but there was no time to mourn. 3 Mongols rushed the gap he'd left. Hayato and I closed ranks, held them back. The battle turned into a grinding attrition. More samurai fell. Lord Takeda himself joined the front line, his blade accounting for 12 enemies. But it wasn't enough. We were being overwhelmed by simple mathematics. That's when the sky changed. Dark clouds appeared from nowhere, rolling in with unnatural speed. The wind picked up, shifting from gentle breeze to howling gale in moments. The sea, previously calm, became turbulent. The kamikaze, the divine wind. I knew what this was. The typhoon that would destroy the Mongol fleet and save Japan. But knowing and experiencing were different things. The storm hit with apocalyptic force. Rain lashed down, the wind screamed, lightning split the sky. The Mongol ships caught in the harbor began to smash against each other in the rocks. On the beach, warriors from both sides struggled to stand against the wind. Lord Takeda shouted orders. "Fall back, to the ridge, let the storm finish them." We retreated, helping wounded comrades, leaving our dead where they lay. The Mongols, caught between the storm and the samurai, began to break. Their landing craft were being smashed, their ships destroyed. In hours, the mightiest invasion force Asia had seen would be reduced to wreckage and corpses. We reached the ridge and watched as the storm did what our swords could not. It shattered the Mongol invasion. Ships sank, men drowned. The army that had expected easy conquest found death in Japanese waters. Hayato stood beside me, bleeding from 12 wounds, but alive. "The gods favor us," he said quietly. Or maybe just weather patterns and luck, I thought, but didn't say. We survived. We did. Many did not. His voice carried the weight of that loss. Tonight we will honor them. Tomorrow we will rebuild. That is the way. Back at Lord Takeda's compound, we counted the cost. Of the 50 warriors who'd ridden out, 28 returned. Kenji was gone. 3 others I'd come to know as friends. The victory was real, but it was written in blood. That night, there were ceremonies honoring the dead. Each name spoken, each sacrifice acknowledged. When they spoke Kenji's name, I felt tears I didn't try to hide. Hayato saw and nodded approval. To feel is not weakness. To deny feeling, that is weakness. Mourn him. He earned your tears. In the following days, as word spread of the storm's destruction of the Mongol fleet, as people began to call it divine intervention, I knew my time was coming to an end. My mission was complete. I'd witnessed the invasion, experienced the culture, understood Bushido in ways no historical text could convey. My chrono device had been ready for days, but leaving felt like betrayal. Lord Takeda summoned me 1 week after the battle. His chamber was quiet, peaceful. Lady Akemi served tea with her usual grace. "You fought with great courage," Lord Takeda said. "You held the line when many would have broken. You are truly samurai, Nikola-san. I learned from the best. Perhaps. But you brought something too. A different perspective, a willingness to question. Hayato tells me you often asked why, when others simply accepted, this is the way. That questioning is valuable. It keeps us honest." He paused. "You will leave soon. I can see it in your eyes. You have somewhere else you need to be." I didn't deny it. "Yes, my path leads elsewhere, but I will never forget what you've taught me, what you've shown me. This place, these people. You've changed me. Good. That is as it should be. We teach each other. That is the purpose of human connection." Lady Akemi poured more tea. "When you go, take this with you. The knowledge that honor exists, that it's possible to live by principles even when it's difficult. even when it costs you everything. Your world may have forgotten this, but you can remember. You can carry it with you. I will. I swear it. That evening, I said my goodbyes. Hayato met me in the courtyard where we'd trained so many times. "You're leaving tonight," he said. Not a question. "Yes, it's time. I understand. You have your path as I have mine." He held out a small wrapped package. "This is for you. Open it later." We embraced as brothers. "Thank you," I said, "for everything, for teaching me, for trusting me, for showing me what it means to be samurai. You already knew. We just helped you remember." He stepped back. "Go with honor, Nikola-san. And if your path ever brings you back to this time, this place, you will always have a home here." I found a quiet spot outside the compound as the stars emerged. My fingers moved over the chrono device, entering coordinates. In moments, I'd be gone, pulled through time back to my own era. But first, I unwrapped Hayato's gift. Inside was a small carved figure, a samurai in meditation pose. On the base, characters I slowly translated. "The warrior's path is found in death. The purpose of the warrior's path is found in life." I tucked it carefully into my coat and activated the device. The world dissolved into light and temporal flux. When I opened my eyes, I was in my own time, my own place. The chrono device powered down with a soft chime. But I wasn't the same person who'd left. I carried something now. Not just memories or historical data, but a code, a way of being. Bushido, the way of the warrior. I looked at the carved figure in my hand and made a promise to myself. I would carry this forward. In my travels, in my missions, in every choice I made, I would honor what they'd taught me. I would be samurai, even in times and places that had forgotten what that meant. Because honor doesn't depend on time or place. It's a choice you make in every moment, every action. To face fear and act anyway. To sacrifice for something larger than yourself. To live with death as your constant companion and thereby be truly alive. Kenji had been right. It was a lesson written in blood, but it was the only lesson that mattered. I am Nikola Brown, a traveler through time and history. If you enjoyed this adventure of mine, subscribe to the channel and share it.